Well, yes, my experience with all the branding and positive messages about Ukraine is that it's very much needed, not only outside, but also inside of Ukraine. And today I'm sure we'll have a lot of positive messages to tell you. So I would like to invite our panelists to come up on the stage. Today with me will be speaking Artem Bidenko, who is the State Secretary of the Ministry of Information Policy of Ukraine. Danylo Bilak, Director Investment, well, now not the Director, now the Head of Supervisory Board of the Investment Promotion Office, the state institution. Vassili,
Branding,
UkraineInvest, yes, thank you. Vassili Bovdilov, General Director, Unilever, Ukraine and Belarus, and also Yaroslav Lyubinets, co-founder and chairman of the Board of Directors of SoftServe, who is also a sponsor of the Ukrainian IT Day on October 11th. Well, I would like to start our discussion from Artem Bidenko, since our panel is about Ukraine networking, business networking platform. What do we have to say to the world today as Ukraine now, Artem? What would you like to, what do we have to offer as a country?
Thank you and hello to everyone. I suggest beginning with video about what is Ukraine now, and after that I will shortly tell about
Great.
Now. And now is special. It's a turning point. There can't be another now. You can't show it, you can't touch it, but you can feel it. Now, and now. Another win, another doing, another little step further. Now is wow. Now is pow. Now is how the heck you did it. Now is energy. Now is growth. Now is startups. Now is 5 billion worth IT. Now is not about plans, it's about actions. About people who are ready to take actions. Ukraine now is a now nation. And you know what? We're only getting started.
Thank you.
Well, but it all started with the United Kingdom, and we were very impressed with its campaign. Great, science is great, knowledge is great, culture is great, and Ukrainian government had British experts consulting us 4 and 3 years ago, and they suggested us to create finally one voice campaign, one voice strategy of communicating Ukraine abroad. Because before we had a lot of Ukrainians. Every ministry, every authority communicated Ukraine in one way. Somebody talked about investment, somebody talked about export, about agriculture, but what we need in the global market of countries is one brand and one communications platform. So, according to another great British Simon Anholt, we created a group which, together with British consultants, created this brand, Ukraine Now. What it means? It means that from now, we provide communication campaigns through the world, all over the world. We had in London 2 months ago with saying Ukraine Now. Ukraine is a country of opportunities. Ukraine is a country of freedom, of people who love freedom and who fight for freedom. It's a country without borders. It's a country where you can invest money and you will earn money. It's a safe country, especially for foreigners, and we have statistics about that. So come to Ukraine, invest into Ukraine, export from Ukraine, and that's all Ukraine Now. One communications platform. And that's for me now. Now I think my colleagues will tell more.
Thank you, Artem. Danylo, now I would like to address the question to you. Today, during our discussions, we've heard two words the most. The first one is Ukraine, and the other one is investment. So what do UkraineInvest has to offer to foreigners?
You know, it's interesting when you talk about what a brand is. Okay, because at the end of the day, this is what we sell. We have to sell a country, we have to sell our brands, whether it's a product or what have you. When I was appointed by the cabinet in November of 2016, we had a pretty bad brand. And the brand, we had a good brand coming out of 2014, where Ukrainians stand for freedom. That's a positive brand. By 2016, it was like they blew it. We don't have it's a perception, whether it's true or not. Nothing has changed. We still have corruption, etc. By 2017, we'd sort of moved the dial to where we had, okay, you know what, they're starting to do reforms, but it's not moving fast enough. And then from reforms, there's still a lot of corruption. And we have a tough time in building a brand to get by the 3 C's that Ukraine has been associated with: conflict, corruption, and Chernobyl. And the only way that you could actually move the dial and change this process and change the perception of the brand was by having success stories. So we spent our first, as UkraineInvest, our entire first year basically trying to solve the problems of existing investors. And there were a lot of them. We had 120 complaints. That was just our office. The business ombudsman, which had a new institution the government set up, had a lot more. And we managed to unlock $700 million of new investment from existing investors in that year. We're down to this year 20 complaints, less than 20 complaints. And the business ombudsman has seen a big tailing off. I'm not saying that there's no problem. I'm not saying that we've solved all the problems. But I do think that we start to fetishize this issue of Ukraine is all about corruption. In fact, you can look at Ihor Budykovsky's great book here. I mean, it's true because he wrote it, right? It's got to be true if it's here. It's $6 billion has been saved and has been added into 6% of GDP through the government's efforts in preventing corruption. So there's 2 parts of corruption, okay, when we're talking about the brand. Everybody associates corruption with the fact that, they're having problems putting the anti-corruption court into place, and we haven't had enough officials and judges perp walk down the street in shackles to off to jail. That might be true. But when you look at the efforts of the government to bring in transparency, to bring in new systems in VAT, to bring in new systems of public procurement, cleaning up the gas sector, this has an impact. And it has an impact on investors. And it's not always the story that gets told, unfortunately. Because as you report a narrative, it starts to go into an echo chamber that goes around and around and around, and people sitting in London, Paris, New York, even Kiev, pick up on the same thing over and over again and just repeat it, without really understanding that things have started to change. Where I have seen now the brand, if you like, starting to shift, and this is our challenge, is that we are now being considered, Ukraine is now being considered by major investors for billion euro investments alongside all of our neighbors in the region: Poland, Hungary, Romania, Serbia, Bulgaria. So we've actually made it into the Premier League. We could still get relegated, that could happen. But the point is that now we have to play by new rules. Now we have to come up with incentive programs, etc. But it's a different kind of discussion, folks. It's not about this defensive, and I got some of this morning, to be honest with you. Well, you should do this, you should do this, you need to still do this. It's always the glass is half empty. Well, guess what, folks? Glass is half full. And we've seen this, we see the turnaround, we feel it already. We see it in what investors are telling us. And we see it in the kind of country that we are trying to promote. Ukraine is trying to build a 21st century economy based on the principles of Industry 4.0. It's based on brains and grains, okay? It's the human capital of our people along with the natural resources, but not as raw material. For too long, Ukraine has been exporting and has been viewed as a space in Europe of raw material, including its people, including what's produced in the ground, including what's produced in the factories. What we are trying to attract and what we are beginning to attract is added value investment where, see how hard it is to get it in? And trying to get this stuff so that we want a manufacturing base that is going to be married to the phenomenal IT potential, the IT, not potential, but the phenomenal IT fact that we have. And it's not just IT. It's artificial intelligence, it's natural learning process, it's machine-to-machine learning. We do all of this. Siemens has an R&D center of 50 engineers in Kiev that solve the most complicated problems, technical problems, of its customers around the world. Not in Berlin, but in Kiev. Sorry, not in Bavaria. It wouldn't be in Berlin because don't do that. But not in Munich, but in Kiev. And so this positioning of Ukraine as a high value added, got that part, place to invest is absolutely fundamental. It includes what Olya Terfintseva was talking about in AgTech, what Alexei Pavlenko was talking about earlier today. And we need to have, going from just producing grains to food processing, the things that was a question earlier. All of these things are actually happening. We have presidential elections coming up, we have IMF issues that we need to resolve, all of which we will do. We see that. But the point is that we have turned the corner, and it's noticeable to us to turn the corner. And that's the message we need to get out. It's very hard, because we're fighting a troll factory in St. Petersburg, for one, that sets out a counterfactual facts. And we also have the echo chamber that many people in this room actually contribute to, unfortunately. Some people in this room contribute to. So it's not just me as a semi-government official that has to be talking about this. It's also our businesses that are in Ukraine, many of whom now are starting to come forward and saying, if you're going to do a video about what's changed in Ukraine, we would like to be part of it. And that's what we're doing in German and in French. So I want to leave you with an image, not just my raspy voice, but with an image of how we try to promote Ukraine abroad to investors.
Video, please.
Ukraine Now, Innovation and Opportunity. The purpose of this investor briefing is to give you a clear picture of opportunities in Ukraine now. With 45 million people, Ukraine represents one of the largest emerging markets in Europe. Ukraine is transformation. According to the World Bank, since 2010, Ukraine has done more to improve its business climate than any post-communist country in Europe. Ukraine continues to adopt thousands of EU standards yearly as it continues its integration into European institutions. Ukraine's greatest assets are its brains and grains. The nation has a long history of innovation, including the design, development, and manufacture of the world's largest aircraft. In 2017, Bloomberg ranked Ukraine as one of the world's most innovative countries. Ukraine is known for its highly skilled technicians and R&D. Global players are already harnessing Ukrainian innovation in aerospace, science, technology, robotics, artificial intelligence, and IT. Ukraine is the Silicon Step of Europe. In just 5 years, the IT industry has grown from the size of a postage stamp to become the nation's third largest export and one of the world's most important outsourcing centers. Innovation technology informs all of Ukraine's sectors of opportunity. Key sector opportunities include manufacturing, agri-food, energy, infrastructure, and creative industries. With over 30% of all arable land in Europe, Ukraine will continue to be a major player in securing the world's food supply. The country is approaching energy self-sufficiency. Indeed, with one of the world's most favorable green tariffs, solar, wind, and other alternate energy investors are flocking in to take advantage of the opportunities offered by Ukraine's renewable energy sector. Kyiv is no more than 3 hours flying time from almost all European capitals, making it an ideal logistics and transport hub. Ukraine is literally buzzing with innovation and opportunity. Visit Ukraine now by starting at UkraineInvest.com. UkraineInvest is your investment opportunity partner. Welcome to Ukraine. Вітаємо!
Well, thank
Just
you.
to show you how innovative we are, all the stuff that you can see on our website that's really interesting, I can give you on this flashcard. So I've got a few. If somebody wants them afterwards, I'd be happy to give them out.
Thank you, Dan. And just to finish the governmental part of the presentation, I would like to say a couple of words about Export Promotion Office, which I am leading. Together with UkraineInvest, I think that we are also the examples of the reform that are being done in Ukraine, because after 2 years of donor-backed organizations, we are now transferred into fully fledged state institutions. And you've heard a lot of opportunities about exports from Ukraine or trade with Ukraine. And we've heard all the possible options also for agri-business in Ukraine. And I would like just to show you also a small video. We have a video presentation today about why you should trade with Ukraine. Can we have video, please? Yes. Well, trade with Ukraine. Of course, as Export Promotion Office, our main clients are Ukrainian businesses, Ukrainian exporters that are looking for partners abroad, and that's why some of Ukrainian companies are here today. But we also have a special services for foreign investors who are looking for partners in Ukraine, and this service is called sourcing, which you can, if you're interested, fill in the form on our website, and we'll take care of your needs of finding partners in Ukraine. And also, if you're interested to come with the business mission to Ukraine, we also will be happy to host you and organize the B2Bs for you in Ukraine. Well, this is the part of the government perspective, and now I would like also to hear what the business has to say about Ukraine now. And the first, I would like to ask Vassili Bovdilov, the country director of Unilever Ukraine. Of course, Unilever doesn't need an extra presentation. Everyone is probably consuming it in everyday life. And your company has been in Ukraine for 25 years, right? So
that's correct.
What do you have to say about Ukraine now?
Dear colleagues, it's an honor for me to speak at today's forum. And I would say that I could say a lot about Ukraine now. Why? Because I have 23 years of experience working on various positions in Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus. That's why I would say that I have quite wide time base for comparison. And as a representative of Unilever in Ukraine, as a United Kingdom Dutch investor, I can definitely say that over the last years, Ukraine has undertaken a lot of transformational steps on its way to European market economy. And the changes are obvious, and especially to the business. And talking about our company is serving for consumers and customers in Ukraine, and it has been our priority for 25 years. Our total cumulative investment in our brands and in manufacturing units accounts for 325 million euros, which shows the importance of Ukraine for Unilever and our commitment to develop it. Our brands have leading position in Ukrainian market. Each fourth Ukrainian choose Rexona deodorant. Each fifth Ukrainian household has household care products. And now Ukrainians have opportunity to choose locally manufactured tea number 1 in the world. We were always very articulate about wanting to have local production facilities in Ukraine, which will enable us to serve more than 42 million of Ukrainian consumers even better. We opened our first local production site in Ukraine, Gostomel, in 2016, with the tremendous help and support of Ukrainian government. Unilever managed to implement our project in just 9 months, and with the great help of special working group under the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade. As of first day of operations, Gostomel factory applies a unique for Ukraine zero waste to landfill principle and uses 100% of green energy. Over the last 2 years of operation, we achieved a quite great results. We produced more than 2,500 high-quality packet tea under Unilever brands, which already went to local market. And the number of production lines has been increased from 3 to 4. And we add new formats. And the number of SKUs which were produced were increased from 3 to 60. Currently, 100% of Unilever tea produced in Ukraine, produced at our local manufacturing unit. And we're in line with our manufacturing, local manufacturing strategy, we extended it to the packaging materials, which previously were delivered from European Union. As a part of our localization strategy, we continue to develop sustainable partnership with the local raw materials, packaging and finished good producers and invest in Ukrainian market. 100 SKUs in our portfolio of beauty and personal care produced locally with our third-party supplier. We plan to extend the amount of beauty and personal care as well as home care finished goods to be produced in Ukraine for us up to 40%. What matters to us as a business in terms of current economic reforms in the country and serves as an indicator of investment climate dynamics is openness of the government to the business and its willingness to respond to our issues. And I would again to admit that over the years Ukraine has made very significant steps forward and the changes are very visible. Unilever CEO Paul Polman had bilateral meetings with the president of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, and Prime Minister Vladimir Groisman during his visits Ukraine during the factory opening and Unilever Ukraine 25th anniversary, which clearly illustrates the openness of the government and to the dialogue with the business. He was invited by the president to become a member of National Investment Council of Ukraine in 2016 as an United Kingdom and Dutch investor, which implies high confidence of the Ukrainian governmental authorities in Unilever as a trustworthy business. We were impressed to see the many global business colleagues at the one table at the inaugural National Investment Council meeting in May 2018. That was clearly a sign of their interest to build up their scale in Ukraine, and this requires the Ukrainian government to keep supporting those companies operating on the market and to create favorable conditions to newcoming investors. On behalf of Unilever, I would like to express our commitment to long-term strategic investment plans in Ukraine and its readiness to conduct honest and constructive dialogue with the business partners, government, and society. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to say, do as Unilever does and invest in Ukraine now. So my next question goes to Yaroslav Lyubinets, who is the chairman of the board and co-founder of SoftServe. SoftServe is a company which was founded in 1993, which is 25 years ago, and now as an IT expert company and as a representative of the third bigger and fastest growing export industry in Ukraine. What would you like to say about Ukraine now?
Okay, thank you, Maryana. And for now, Ukraine is already well-known IT destination. It's for sure, and at this time it counts 150,000 IT professionals, which put Ukraine on the first place for talent industry in Eastern and Central Europe. And very important fact that 18 companies with offices in Ukraine were listed recently in Global Outsourcing 100 list, and majority of this client headquartered in Ukraine. And what is differentiation point for Ukraine that it is not just IT destination, it is R&D destination. It means that Ukrainian specialists are working on the most complex task on development of new products, but not on the maintenance. IT market in Ukraine consists from three parts. The most biggest part, 70%, is IT services. There are many R&D centers from well-known foreign countries, and also it is rapidly growing market for product companies and for startups. In IT services industry, working company of different sizes. There are two companies as SoftServe with talent pool more than 6,000 employees, and there are many other smaller, near 20 companies with more than 1,000. Talent pool, which is significant amount, especially for Europe. And the number of companies is growing every year. And an example, in Lviv, this year there are more than 300 IT companies. And a year ago it was 200, 250. So this number is growing very fast. And just 1 week ago in Lviv there was a regular annual IT conference, IT arena, with more than 3,500 people attending, 3 days conference, 4 different tracks. And Ukrainian IT service company works with different type of companies. The most demanding companies is technological companies, the companies that produce software itself, so-called independent software vendors. And Ukraine as R&D destination work very well with that. But recently, the new trend is work with corporate or enterprise client, which require good business knowledge, business communication, business analysis knowledge, and Ukrainian IT industry already matured to the level to work with such type of companies as well. What is the unique for Ukraine? Ukraine has very flexible and very rich talent, IT talent market. The flexibility is very important because, in example, in almost all European countries and in United Kingdom, the average time to find skilled IT talent is more than 60 days, more than 3 months. And in Ukraine, and our company is committed to SLA to our client to find talents during 1 month, not more. And we are able to combine project teams with 50, 100, even professional during 1 month. And it is not just our company can do that. And what other is unique for Ukraine is that flexibility is not only in talent sourcing, but also in thinking way. Our clients very value that we very often ask why questions. So we are not like Indians doing all order what they are getting. Our professionals very carefully review all requests, ask a lot of questions, and provide a lot of insight, a lot of innovation. And our client values that very much. And all this allows us in Ukraine at SoftServe work on cutting edge of technology. It's not anymore just software development destination, it is destination to work on digital experience platforms, on innovation platforms, big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, all new technologies. And just to give example of maturing Ukrainian IT market, I just give a few words about our company. So SoftServe was founded 25 years ago by a group of friends, at that time postgraduate students in Lviv Polytechnic, and from this small group of people that rented two-bedroom apartment as first office, during all these 25 years we grown to a global company, and we are proud to say global company with Ukrainian roots that operates in 9 countries, so with offices in 9 countries and clients in more than 12 countries. And absolutely global management, and we can say that there is no single city in the world where there are 2 C-level executives of SoftServe. So we are completely distributed, completely global. And at this time, we continue to work on globalization, not only our management team, but also our development team. So, and there are a lot of younger companies in Ukraine that follow our way. And because of democratic way how IT works in Ukraine, I can say that in Lviv, only in Lviv, there are more than 50 companies that were founded by former employees of SoftServe. And they are very knowledgeable, much more knowledgeable than we were 25 years ago, and they will pass our way much faster. And it's not just importance of IT industry for Ukraine in the revenue, which is currently about $4.5 billion that come into Ukraine and stay in Ukraine, and it is mostly salary or investment in Ukraine. And our colleagues in IT cluster in Lviv calculated that 1 job in IT produces 3.5 jobs in different other industries, which is very important. But the most important for me is that IT is very unique. It's new type of industry for Ukraine, and IT develop new generation for Ukraine, new generation of active citizens that that involve new type of culture to Ukraine. It is new type of business relation culture, but it is also new type of community relation culture. And the volunteers spirit is very popular among IT companies, and here on this forum was mentioned already Prozoro, one of the significant wins of new Ukrainian government. But I remember how Prozoro was started. It was a result of some thoughts after a hard night on Maidan, and there was one, like my friend, got this idea, and he was looking for IT industry who can develop this company, that system. And the key part of this system was developed just absolutely for free by IT enthusiasts, and only after first success there were a lot of foreign investment to this system. And now it is really the best procurement system for public procurement in the world. And there are a lot of different wins on lower scales than this one. And another helpful for Ukraine, it is change in education. IT industry is talent industry, and Ukraine has very good legacy of education, especially in mathematics and engineering field, in computer science fundamentals, but we are going ahead, and for new application like artificial intelligence, data science, and so on, we need new programs. And so IT volunteered to help universities to create new programs. And at this time in Lviv, during last 3 years, 10 new computer science programs were created. And one of them, I'm especially proud of that, in Ukrainian Catholic University, which is humanitarian university by nature, but together with IT community, they created world-class computer science. And I would say that in United Kingdom, probably only 5 universities have the same quality of computer science program. So I would say that IT industry is developing new generation, middle class in Ukraine. There are a lot more to say, and I invite you to visit the day after tomorrow, special IT day, and you will have more insight there.
Thank you very much, Yaroslav. It's a true success story for Ukrainian business development and also for the industry development and education development, the whole infrastructure. And I see that Dan Bilak really wants to comment.
I just wanted to make a quick comment on what Yaroslav said. I mean, this is a perfect example of how we need to brand Ukraine. Because you take Lviv. Lviv is already a brand. It's all, when you think of Lviv, I mean, I don't know what you think, but most people think of Lviv, they think of coffee, they think of chocolate, they think of festivals, and they think of IT. This is a feel-good kind of place. And and it's a place that people are increasingly coming to. As you see the cheap flights and bringing in more and more tourists. This is the kind of way that we need to package what the changes are taking place in the country. And Yaroslav made a really important point. Our new middle class in Ukraine is made up of what we call ITshniki. These are the people in the IT sector. You come to Kiev, people go, wow, I didn't know there were so many great restaurants, so many great cafes, and they're all 25 and 30-somethings in there. I don't go to these places, I can't afford them. But these people do go. And we have been able to retain the 130,000 engineers we produce a year. We're able to keep them in the country. What you hear about the migration out is at the professional technical level. And that's a challenge for us to make sure that they come in. But it's also a challenge for our investors and our companies to pay higher wages. A business model that's based on $200, $300 a month for Ukrainian labor is not sustainable, folks. Sorry. At 500, though, 500 moving to 600, that is sustainable. And we are seeing that there are companies that are even prepared to look at those in terms of coming into the country. Because Ukraine's greatest attribute right now and our comparative advantage, it's not cheap labor, God forbid, it's scalability. This is something that Yaroslav alluded to. We have the brains, we have the technological capacity, and we have the physical space to do big things, which our neighbors, unfortunately for them, don't.
Thank you very much. Then I'm not sure if you have time for questions because this panel was really short. So I see that you have a question. Maybe just one. We'll just take one question. Yes, please.
Hi. Look, the proof's in the pudding, as they say. So IT. If you look at India, they have 6 IITs, 6 fabulous MIT equivalents, and they produce amazing IT experts, well known. China now in AI is, they say, way ahead, and they are. US claims it, but China's ahead. China now in terms of IT, most millennials don't even use money anymore. They use their phone, pay for everything. I go to China, I'm an old man, double. So at the end of the day, China already, they don't use cards, they use mobile phone, everything. You look at Alibaba, 10 cents, Weibo, you name it. Millennials just, what is it about Ukraine? What is the edge for Ukraine? Why is your IT so much more superior, or supposedly, IT is a global game, so why are you so superior, period?
Creativity.
Yeah, creativity, innovation. This is what I say. I specifically asking our clients, and I'm asking our global managers that work at company, why do you think Ukraine is so successful? And they say, because you are asking a lot of why questions, and you providing solution, and sometimes this solution is unexpected for our clients, but they value this very much because it is real adding value. When client has goal, they know where to go, but they not exactly know how the most efficiently go there. And we know that. And yeah, I agree with you that China is great in artificial intelligence in new way, and Ukraine the same, but Ukraine doesn't have internal IT market, and China has. So Ukrainian engineers working on market of other countries, of USA, UK, and so on. And many startups in this, the most popular now directions, were starting in Ukraine, and after the first stage of investment, they start new office in Silicon Valley, in Berlin, and develop there. So, and what is the most popular way? The development team stays in Ukraine, and marketing, client-facing there. So still all brains are in Ukraine. But company is not Ukrainian anymore, and many even recent well-known deals on M&A, on startup investments, they are done in companies with core in Ukraine, but it was like US companies.
Ukrainian engineers go through a very rigorous cybernetics education, which is something that is not common in most countries. In fact, Ukraine is the home of cybernetics. And when it comes to application of AI, NLP, and things like that, feedback loops, I mean, I'm a lawyer, what do I know? But I mean, this is what intelligent people tell me. This is actually critical. And there's something in the national character. Ukrainians just don't like to be told that they can't do something. Whether it's the law or whether it's somebody says, you'll never do it. They'll say, you just wait, I'll show you. And it actually is something, when you talk to an engineer, they say, we'll find a way around it.
Thank you very much, Dan, for this comment. And I would like to encourage all interested in Ukrainian IT to visit IT Day during this Ukrainian week in London on Thursday. It will be happening at headquarters of EBRD. Please come to learn more. And I would like to thank our distinguished speakers about presenting what is government doing to promote Ukraine now, and also to hear the perspective from the service expert provider, also to the investor perspective. And I would like to invite all of you to visit Ukraine now, to invest in Ukraine now, and to trade with Ukraine now. Thank you very much, and please talk to our panelists in the break. It was really short, half an hour.